I hope I don't go to hell for this.
Uncharted 4 is a linear, story-driven experience, and Naughty Dog chooses to use cutscenes to tell the story, because I guess they're just too scared to tell the story through the gameplay system itself for once. Now, cutscenes can be used well, and there are many good examples of great cutscenes, but the cutscenes in this game honestly ruin the story, so this video is going to be an in-depth explanation on why you shouldn't watch cutscenes in Uncharted 4.
What? Crap.
You see, the problem with the cutscenes in this game is that it makes the story way too obvious, because you always understand what's happening, where the characters are, and what they're doing. By skipping all the cutscenes, the player will be a lot more confused. This makes the story more complex, as now the player has to figure out what's happening by themselves instead of constantly being spoon-fed information. This also leaves the story more open to interpretation, so it gives the player the freedom to fill in the gaps and create the story they want. In fact, here's a great example. During the auction heist scene, there's this very convenient cutscene that lets you know what their exact plan is. But how about we simply skip this? Now you're going to be very confused, as you don't know what your goal is. But trust me, this is actually a good thing. Now you're asked to do several different things. First, you're simply following Sully, then you're walking through this crowd and you notice a cross that looks awfully similar to the St. Dismas cross you got earlier. But you simply walk past that, and now you have to open this door, which triggers a cutscene, but we can just skip this. Now you have to pickpocket a dude, so from this you should be able to gather that the door is locked and you need a key card to get in. Once you try opening the door, another cutscene plays, but again we can easily just skip this. And now we're in a different location, so we understand that the key card worked. Now after these cutscenes, there are often voice lines that occur during gameplay. Now the game expects you to know what's happening in the scene through the cutscenes, but since we skipped all of them, these voice lines are often vague, allowing the player to piece together what they think is happening in the scene instead of just being told. Now you're navigating through even more areas, and then you're crawling through this vent. So this basically confirms, if it wasn't already obvious, that you're trying to sneak into a place that you're not supposed to get into. Now during this moment, as Sam is boosting you up, another cutscene triggers. So you skip this, but then Sam is just gone, and you'll be wondering where the hell he went, until you hear this voice line.
Sam, you good?
Yeah, these pants are just a little bit too tight.
Well, that's the style these days.
Now this is still vague, but you gather that he's probably putting on some sort of disguise. So you begin to understand that this is all some big elaborate heist. Now you proceed with basic platforming, simply letting the level design carry you. And then you finally arrive at the power room. And this answers all your questions. From everything you saw before, you should be able to piece together that the plan was to cut the lights so that Sam in his disguised outfit could steal the cross that you saw before. You see what I mean? These clues were sprinkled throughout the heist, and you were able to connect the dots and understand what the scene was about by yourself. It also adds an entirely new context to the things that you had been doing. This also enhances replays, as now that you know the context, you will be able to pick up on details you may have missed while you were confused on your first playthrough, adding a lot of replay value. Now, imagine if you had watched that cutscene at the beginning. It tells you everything about the plan to get to the power room, as well as the plan for Sam to dress up as a waiter. Watching this cutscene makes everything that follows clear as crystal. It's honestly insulting. Not watching that cutscene adds a whole new level of mystery, and finding out what was actually happening feels a lot more rewarding than if you had known from the very beginning. And this is just one example. If you do this for every cutscene, it adds constant mystery and reward throughout the game. It's almost like a puzzle. It enhances the game to levels it could have never reached if you had watched those cutscenes.
Son of a...
Have you had enough? Or do you want to keep being a smartass?
So you may be wondering, why is this so specific to Uncharted 4? Why can't this be applied to any video game with cutscenes? Now that is true to some extent, but for some games this just wouldn't be possible. Take The Amazing Spider-Man 2. This game's story is so complex, it's already incredibly difficult for the human mind to even comprehend. So not watching cutscenes in this game could have some seriously damaging effects.
Call an ambulance!
It's been scientifically proven, but for a game that has no complexity at all, like Uncharted 4, this would be the perfect method. Another big issue is consistency. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 nailed this, as the cutscenes and gameplay both remain consistent and don't have differing levels of quality. But the detail in Uncharted 4's cutscenes in comparison with the gameplay is shockingly noticeable. Even though the game doesn't look that good, especially in comparison with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's still tolerable. But then if you're gonna suddenly boost the quality in cutscenes, it makes the gameplay look like trash, especially when it comes to the face models. And this can severely ruin immersion. This is a story-driven game after all. I want to be able to connect with these characters, but if you're not going to have the gameplay and cutscenes match up, it's going to be a little bit hard.
But I can explain.
Also, this is a video game. I didn't come here to watch a movie, I came here to blast heads open. Stop forcing me to watch a movie while I'm trying to play the game. That's like if I was watching a movie and then was suddenly asked to play a game. These two art forms contradict each other. You shouldn't mix them. And yes, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 does use cutscenes as well, but miraculously, it's able to combine these two art forms seamlessly. I'll expand upon all of this in a future video.
Spider-Man? Hell with it, kill him!
There also exists a huge contradiction between the cutscenes and gameplay. Nathan in the cutscenes is a relatable dude who cracks funny jokes and has a golden heart, but the gameplay tells you that Nathan is a badass murderer who will not allow anyone to stand in his way.
Oh, shit. You do have the drop on him.
What's the play here, Nathan?
Holy shit!
He guns down thousands of mercenaries and he is somehow able to escape these insane situations without any permanent injuries. These cutscenes ruin Nathan's character, so skipping them preserves the tone of the game, because Uncharted has always been a serious and gritty video game about a badass doing badass things and killing badassily, while the story was always an afterthought.
Really?
So now you hopefully understand. If you do watch cutscenes, then you're essentially experiencing the story on easy mode, as they constantly have to treat the player like a child. There is so much more room for the player to take control of the story and craft an experience that will personally resonate with them. This game has so much to offer if you simply just skip those cutscenes. So if you ever plan on revisiting this game, just remember to skip all those cutscenes.